Hey everyone, so got a couple new puzzles from the Cubicle. These are all XM cubes, the new 3x3 from She, the new 6x6 and 7x7 from Moyu, and we're gonna give you guys initial impressions of them and then how they stack up against what I've been currently using to practice. So starting out with 3x3s, this is the Angstrom Tornado V3M. So a couple of things I noticed right away is it's a fantastic cube. Has a plush feel to it. It's a lot softer than some of the other 3x3s. Corner cutting is out of the park. It's effortless, kind of in all directions. And the other thing is it doesn't feel like it's jarring when you're turning it. In terms of its speed, I think it feels just right, honestly. I don't think it's too fast nor too slow. I can control it just fine, but at the same time, I don't really feel the turning resistance. Yeah, no, I'm not a 3x3 expert, but I only have good things to say about this cube. Now, comparison, I've been using the RS3 in 2020 for about the past year or so, and it's a very good cube. I think couple improvements on the tornado. I think one is I think this cube's very loud, but it's not like it makes that more. It doesn't improve your competition time because it's like in terms of just like it's it is louder. It's just like a thing to note, but I wouldn't say like don't get a cube because it's louder. Get a cube because it's softer or whatever. But I think this cube it does tend to be very jarring with some of the corner cuts, even though it does it. Whereas on this cube, you can get that a lot smoother. I think the other thing, okay, this thing has like what's it, corner to core magnets as well, right? This is the flagship version, so I think that's might also be why some of the corner cutting feels a lot smoother because it's like pulling you towards pulling the corner towards the core. I think the other thing about this cube is that what do you call it? Yeah, I think it tends to rely. So the cubicle in their angstrom version put extra magnets into this cube, and I think when you turn it, it feels like it's relying a lot of the magnets in order to be able to turn accurately. So back before you had magnetic cubes, you cared a lot about a cube just giving you tactile feedback as you turned. So this cube, for example, I feel like if it you can ask yourself, well, if the cube didn't have magnets, how would it be? And I feel like this cube, it still would give you like feedback and controllability without magnets. So you could turn it just fine. But I feel like this cube right here, it does tend to rely a lot more on the magnets. So if you're like comfortable with that, that's fine. But I feel, I'd rather be able to, not like keep slipping on turns. So I think one area where I saw like an improvement a lot was in OH. Because I think my 3x3 like they're both fantastic options, really for anything. But I think the difference isn't as like 3x3. I think they're pretty similar, but I think for OH, I definitely thought that the tornado was a lot more manageable. So yeah, in short, I'd say it's just like a new main for me. If I were to compete tomorrow in 3x3, I would be using the tornado as well as an OH. That being said, I believe it's $15. This thing is $20. It's $35. I don't think it's like anything game changing that you have to get this cube and not this cube. I think you can perform incredibly well in competition with these. I think a lot of very very achieved speed keepers have used this in competition and gotten successful times. And I think Max Park, if I'm not mistaken, used this cube to get the 486 title record. So yeah, excellent cube. Next on to 6x6. So yeah, this is the new Moyu 6x6, the Ouchie WRM. This is the YJMGC. I think his initial impressions, a couple of things I'll say is it feels a lot. So the cube I'd compare this most to is the Shadow V2, which is that it's fast. It has a bit of I wouldn't say scratchy feel because a lot of times that just out of the box, but in some sense it does have primary internals, so it does give you that feel that you get when you have a cube with primary internals. So I guess I could say scratchy. It is very fast. It's funny because I always heard like Moyu cubes are supposed to be like slower than the YJ cubes, and they're both very fast. But I think what happened is when the cubicles set up the YJ cubes, they tend to slow them down a bit, just because they wanted it to get slower than the out of the box speeds. And then the Moyu cubes, I think they wanted to speed them up. So like this Moyu cube, the Moyu cube, and then you'll see for the 7x7 as well, my Moyu cubes are actually faster than my YJ cubes. Yeah, in terms of tensioning, I really like the out of the box tensions. They are fairly tight, and I think that's important for big cube. You don't want to be popping and getting unreliability with your solves. So I think it's important that these cubes stay at a reasonable tension. In terms of like what I think are pros and cons, I think pro is I like the speed a lot of this cube. It's definitely a lot. It's definitely I think versions to Shadow V2, which used to have like a lot more of a caching problem. I think it alleviates some of that. So I think that's like kind of an improvement. Now, I know I did say previously in reviews that I was like interchangeable between the Shadow and the MGC. But I think kind of more recent opinion is that I definitely prefer the MGC considerably over the Shadow. I do think that the NPC does tend to take the cake in terms of its like, yeah, I've only had this cube for a couple of days, like 3 days, and I've been working for the most part, so I haven't really gotten too much time to play around with it. But I think the NPC as of now does tend to take the cake with corner cutting. But I remember it also took some time to fully get that get corner cutting to its full stability. And then I think the other thing with the NPC, right? So I've had mine for like a year, and it's like best one I've ever tried. I've tensioned it very carefully. So it doesn't really pop. It still pops here and there. Like I've had official salt where I've had like an building pop, and I've only had like one pop on this cube in like my time of using it. So I think that definitely goes down with this cube. So probably something to note. This is like a MVC I've had for a while. And in terms of I think it'll be a new main or not, so I have a feeling that it will be in time, but I'm not sure because this is a really good MVC. I also, well, yeah, if I were to compete tomorrow, I would use the MVC. I am consistently better on it, and as of now, because I've not really gotten used to that cube, and it's not really broken in fully the ouchie. So I'm not sure if it'll be my main or not over the MGC, but sorry, I said it would be. I meant to say it could be. It could be that it'll be my main eventually, and I'll definitely be practicing a lot with it. It is a fantastic cube. And again, the same story is the 3x3s. This cube is, I don't quite remember how much more expensive it is than the MGC, but it is more expensive. So in terms of like, do I think it's like an upgrade? It might be. I just haven't played around with it enough, and I don't think I've broken this cube in to get it to reach its full potential, nor have I gotten used to it. It is also like considerably smaller, just for viz. But the yeah, in terms of if you're on a budget again, I think you're perfectly fine getting the MVC. You just have to put in a bit of. I think the MVC you have to put in a bit of work to really get the tensions right, because if you don't, you will be popping this internal piece a lot, and that will like kill yourselves. So yeah, you need to put in some work to get the tension right, and then break it into the point where you can really perform well on like tight tensions. Well, I think this cube is like slightly looser than the MVC right now, and I could tighten it. Oh yeah, it's really fast, which I like a lot. Yeah, magnets are great on this cube as well, but they're also great on the MVC. So yeah, inconclusive on the 6x6 as to whether it's better or not. Now onto the 7x7. This is the ALPU, this is the MVC. So the first thing is the size is just like nuts. This thing is like really small. I picked up my MGC and I felt like I couldn't even, my hands are pretty big, as you guys are probably aware. And I feel like I couldn't even grip my MGC like as properly after, playing around with this cube. So yeah, what's funny is I always hear about how the MGC is like a faster puzzle than the ALPU, but I think the same story is these are both Mystic versions, by the way. The same story as the 6x6. I think the premium setup will slow down. Like the cubicle will try to slow down the MGC a bit and speed up the ALPU a bit. And as a result, I think my premium ALPU is going to be faster than my premium MGC, which is kind of funny. Yeah, so I got a bit of time to play around with it. Again, only like 3 days, so nothing too conclusive. I think yeah, it's great. I think what I did is I tightened each side up a quarter of a turn, so I have about this tension a bit looser. It was feeling a little bit, it was popping a bit. I'm feeling a little bit like flimsy on some of the inner layers. So just the pretty simple tensioning fix. Yeah, it is, yeah, great speed. I think so. I'm pretty like in terms of how this cube feels. I think like it's definitely like the closest cube I can think of is the Haze 7. I don't really think it feels like a previous like ALPU or like the MGC too much. These are those, the ALPU and the MGC are like a lot more. It's probably like the original ALPU GTS, and then the Spark kind of feels like a lot more like the scratchier feel. So I think realistically, it feels a lot more like the Haze 7 than anything else. So yeah, the size is like really small. I think yeah, I can get good turning on this cube. I think one problem that I've been having, which isn't really the case with the 6x6, it's very much specific to the 7x7, is I'm not sure if the magnet strengths are different between the outer and inner layers, but On the MGC, like I can like, just do turns like that and, turn the outer layer, and it's takes a lot more force to turn the inner layer. So I can kind of just, not hold the inners and turn the outers like that. So if I 3 change. The outflow, if I like just do it like that, it's fine. But there are times where, I feel like I'll just turn the second layer. The second layer is easier to turn than this outer layer. So that's just like something to note. I think couple of theories. I think one that might be just a break-in issue, because generally with 7x7, so when you get them out of the box, the outer layers tend to be slower than the inner layers. But then once you break it in, the outer layers tend to be faster than the inner layers. So that might be what's happening here. The other thing is I might be thinking magnet strength on. I can't really tell if it's weaker or the same in the inners. I have a feeling it's the same in the inners as the outers, as opposed to I think the MGC might be stronger in the inners than it is in the outers, or maybe it is the same. I don't actually know. So no conclusion on the magnet strength, but I think, yeah, I'm hoping that'll go away with break-in. If not, just something to kind of get used to. You might need to, it is smaller, so it's much easier to just grip this over here, like at the MGC, like, it's a little bit more convenient to just do that kind of a grip. So I think that size sort of, makes it easier to do. I think it's a great cube in terms of whether it'll be a main or not. So again, I haven't really gotten used to it fully. I think it'll take some time. If I were to compete tomorrow, I would use the MGC. I'm a lot more used to it. But I think I think with this one, I am actually pretty confident it will become my main. So I think the 6x6, I'm actually not sure. I don't really. I think it's too early for me to say anything as to how confident I will be, because also my MVC 6 is like so good. I think my 7x7 it is a great cube and all, but I do think that with some break-in, some practice, and getting used to this cube, getting my times with this cube better than the 7x7, I do feel pretty confident that it will become a main. That being said, again, this cube is more expensive than the MGC, so it's not like it's I don't think it's like when you got the Hey 7 and and you had like what was the Alfu, the Chi Uji 7x7, or the Chi Uji against like the Moyu Alfu, like the original Alfu. When you had like when let's just say the Hey 7 versus the Chi Uji, like that was like a massive jump in hardware, and I feel like if you had a Uji, you had to get a Hey 7 if you wanted to be competitive at all. Like you wouldn't be able to compete at the same level with the Uji or anywhere close relative to the Hey 7. And I think over here, like I think I will be switching to this as a main, but I don't think that if you are on a budget, this is an excellent cube to get, and I don't think you need to get this cube in order to be compete at least at a very good level. So that's just like something. I don't think you're being very held back by not having this cube. But that being said, yeah, I do think it is. I do think I will be switching tonight, and I do think it'll be a better puzzle like once I get used to it. Yeah, 3x3, I think I've immediately switched to this one. I would use this in a competition tomorrow. And then for the 6x6, I think, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I feel like I don't actually know what I'm gonna end up deciding, but I'd imagine if I switch to the 7x7, like, I might get used to it and might be feeling switch to the 6x6. I think there's a good chance I will, but I would definitely be confident about switching on a 7x7 than on the 6x6. Even though, funnily enough, I do think it's weird. I feel like 6x6s are like better puzzles now than 7x7s, and I feel like historically it's always been the opposite. Like the 6x6s has been worse than the 7x7, but I guess just times change. And again, I think like if I were to get an out of the box like Mystic MVC and compare it to, or not, if I were to have a Mystic MVC and have it for like the amount of time as I did this cube, I would like this cube better. It just said this cube is like I've just like tuned it so well to kind of my turning style that I just don't know if I'll be switching out of it anytime soon, or yeah, maybe. I mean, again, I think there's a good chance I will, but I can't be as confident as with the 7x7. All right, thanks for watching.